Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 30 minutes. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian reportedly orders start of nuclear talks with the United States after President Donald Trump says he's hopeful of a deal to avoid military action. Israel reopens Gaza's Rafah border crossing to Egypt with to and fro limits. Reopening of the border crossing is part of US President Trump's plan to end the Gaza conflict. Former UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, quits the Labour Party after fresh documents revive scrutiny of his links to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And gold tumbles 4.3%, silver slides almost 5% after Friday's sudden U-turn on the recent surge, which saw the precious metals reaching record highs. Well, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has ordered the start of nuclear talks with the United States, as per Iranian media reports on Monday, after US President Donald Trump said he was hopeful of a deal to avert military action. Earlier, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said that Iran is weighing the terms for resuming talks with the United States soon, after both the sides signaled readiness to revive diplomacy over a long-running nuclear dispute and dispel fears of a new regional war. He also noted that Iran has not received an ultimatum from the US president to reach a nuclear agreement.
Various points have been exchanged. At this stage, we are reviewing and deciding on the details of any diplomatic process, which we hope will reach a conclusion in the coming days.
Iranian authorities have in the meantime arrested 4 foreigners of undisclosed nationalities for what they say is participation in riots. Officials said that the arrested individuals were apprehended during a raid on their hideout in the region. Iranian authorities accuse Israel and the United States of having had a hand in, again, those alleged riots. NGOs based abroad have accused the security forces of intentionally targeting protesters in a movement that disrupted the Islamic Republic in January. On the 24th of last month, in fact, it was reported that 2 foreigners had been arrested in western Iran. Also, Iran has summoned European ambassadors stationed in Tehran after the EU's designation of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist group. Iran Foreign Ministry said that this is the smallest of measures before other moves are announced.
This move by the European Union was not only an insult to the Iranian people, but also stemmed from a strategic miscalculation by the EU. Unfortunately, the European Union has forgotten that those it insults by labeling them as terrorists are the ones safeguarding the security and stability in the Persian Gulf region.
And in the neighborhood, Israel has reopened the border between Gaza and Egypt on Monday for a limited number of people on foot, allowing a small number of Palestinians to leave the enclave and some of those who escaped the war to return for the first time. Israel seized the border crossing in May 2024, about 9 months into the Gaza war, which was brought to a tenuous halt by the October ceasefire brokered by US President Donald Trump. According to reports, Gaza residents will be allowed to cross Rafah only on foot. 50 people have been allowed to cross in each direction per day, but that was later increased to 150 one way and 50 the other. Before the conflict, Rafah border crossing with Egypt was the only direct exit point for most Gazans to reach the outside world, as well as a key entry point for aid into the territory. The reopening is a key part of US President Trump's truce plan for the Palestinian territory. Syrian government forces entered the Kurdish stronghold of Hasakeh city, marking a significant step in the integration deal reached with Kurdish authorities last week. The agreement has eased tensions between President Ahmed al-Shara's government and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces after government troops regained large parts of eastern and northern Syria earlier this year. A convoy of more than 20 Interior Ministry vehicles was seen moving into Hasake from the city's outskirts on Monday afternoon. Now, Deputy Chairman of Russia's Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, has said that a proposal by European powers to deploy NATO member troops in Ukraine as part of a security guarantee and peace deal are unacceptable for Russia. He said that Russia's terms for ending the conflict were unchanged from 2024, when President Vladimir Putin set them out in a speech at the Foreign Ministry, reiterating territorial issue is of the most complex character.
Опасность, как человек, который знает, о чем говорит.
We told our colleagues in the negotiating process that these guarantees cannot be just for one side. These are guarantees not just for Ukraine, but for both parties, Russia and Ukraine. Otherwise, such guarantees are ineffective. What kind of guarantees can we talk about if a foreign contingent from friendly NATO states is stationed on the territory of that country? It has been said 100 times that such a contingent would become a legitimate target.
Типа это не должно быть, потому что не должно быть никогда. И это была максима, которой придерживались все политики.
Now, the Kremlin has confirmed upcoming trilateral talks involving Russia, Ukraine and the United States in Abu Dhabi following a recent rescheduling. Originally slated for Sunday, the second round of U.S. brokered peace negotiations aimed at ending Russia-Ukraine's nearly 4-year conflict will now take place on the 4th and 5th of this month. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced the dates on Sunday, saying Kyiv's readiness for substantive discussions towards a real and dignified resolution. The talks build on initial meetings last month in the UAE, which were described as productive but yielded limited progress on territorial issues. Now, a Russian attack in the early hours of Monday killed a father and son from a family which had fled eastern Ukraine but later returned to their frontline hometown. The airstrike just after midnight hit the industrial town of Oleksivo-Druskivka in the wider Donetsk region, a key prize in the war launched by Russia nearly 4 years ago. The police said the family had last November fled the Donetsk region, which the Kremlin claims is part of Russia, but they returned 1 month later. Now, U.S. President Trump on Sunday said Washington is negotiating with Havana's leadership to strike a deal days after he threatened Cuba's reeling economy with a virtual oil blockade. Trump said Cuba is failing without Venezuela's support and the U.S. is in talks with Cuban leaders about a possible deal, but he did not mention when the deal would involve, what the deal will involve. And earlier on Thursday, Trump signed an executive order threatening to impose additional tariffs on any country which sells oil to Cuba. The Cuban government condemned the move as an attempt to economically suffocate the country. Costa Rica's President-elect Laura Fernandez has pledged what she calls profound and irreversible change in her first speech following her victory in Sunday's elections. Fernandez, a political ally of outgoing President Rodrigo Chavez, has outlined plans for a tough crackdown on drug trafficking and sweeping reforms to state institutions. However, her opponents have raised concerns, accusing her of steering the country towards authoritarianism through the expansion of executive power. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez met on Monday with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun at Madrid's Moncloa Palace. After the meeting, Lebanon's Foreign Minister Youssef Raji signed bilateral agreements with Spain's counterpart Jose Manuel Alvarez and Spanish Culture Minister Ernest Urtasun. Spanish government said 3 agreements were signed aimed at strengthening bilateral ties, including collaboration between diplomatic schools, agricultural cooperation and links between the countries' national libraries. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called for the removal of Britain's former ambassador to the US, Peter Mendelsohn, from Parliament's upper chamber after new reports emerged of his ties with the late American sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. This comes after Mandelson quit Starmer's Labour Party. Mandelson said he was stepping down to avoid causing further embarrassment to the party, while denying any recollection of alleged financial transfers and saying the claims need investigation. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Japan claims first-time success in tapping sediments containing rare earths from ocean depths of 6,000 meters. And Germany comes to a grinding halt in a nationwide transporters' strike over pay and other issues.
Open your mind to a whole new world. Explore mystic wonders of nature in the forests.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Japan's snap general election scheduled on the 8th of February has ignited debate over Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai's unilateral power to dissolve the House of Representatives. As Japan's first female premier, Takaichi dissolved parliament on the 23rd of last month, marking the first such move at the date session's start in decades to seek a stronger mandate for expansionary fiscal policies, including big spending and tax cuts to reflate the economy. Critics and opposition figures argue that the exclusive prerogative lacks constitutional checks and call for reforms to limit it, especially given the short 12-day campaign and timing just 16 months after the prior vote. Recent polls show Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, poised for a landslide, potentially exceeding the 233-seat majority in the 465-seat lower house, amid her high approval ratings. Key opposition leaders from the centrist Reform Alliance, Democratic Party for the People, and other focus on livelihoods, cost of living relief and peace amid the high-stakes race. Also in Japan, the government in that country said on Monday that they have retrieved sediments containing rare earth elements from depths of 6,000 meters during a recent deep-sea mission. The mission is part of Tokyo's efforts to curb dependence on China for these critical minerals, which are essential for high-tech industries. The retrieved sediments will undergo detailed analysis to determine the exact quantity of rare earths these jars contain. Officials described the operation as a significant step for both Japan's economic security and its broader maritime development initiatives. Bangladesh witnessed a surge in sexual assault in 2025, with girls bearing the brunt of the abuse. According to the data from Bangladesh Mahila Parishad, it shows rape and gang rape cases rising by over 52% to 786 victims, including 543 girls under the age of 18. The annual report documents a broader crisis with 2,808 cases of violence against women and girls last year, including murder, suicide, trafficking and cyber abuse. Sexual violence featured prominently, with 179 gang rapes, 188 attempted rapes and several suicides following rape. A Dhaka special court has sentenced former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to 10 years in prison in a corruption case linked to irregularities in the Purbanchal New Town Plot Allocation Project. The Anti-Corruption Commission said Hasina abused her authority to illegally secure plots for herself and family members. The verdict adds to earlier rulings, which have already handed Hasina 26 years imprisonment and other graft charges. Sheikh Hasina's niece, British MP Tulip Siddique, also received a 4-year jail term, while 2 other relatives were sentenced to 7 years each. 18 other accused were also jailed for terms ranging from 2 to 10 years, along with fines. Public transport across Germany has come to a standstill as a major strike over pay and working conditions takes effect. The Verdi Union, one of the country's largest labor organizations, has called on nearly 100,000 workers from around 150 transport companies to walk out. The disruption comes amid bitter winter conditions with icy roads and pavements, making alternatives such as walking or cycling more dangerous than usual for commuters.
The right time for a strike when you are affected by it, but I can certainly understand that people are trying to strengthen their position and get money from their employer. I can understand that. Of course, it's always annoying that we as user of the BVG are the one who suffer as a result, but that is a labor dispute.
Tourists visiting Rome's famed Trevi fountain must now pay a €2 ticket to get a closer view of the Baroque landmark, as city authorities introduced the measure to raise funds and curb overcrowding at one of Italy's most popular attractions. The measure applies only to visitors who want to walk down the stone steps to get close to the fountain's basin. Rome residents are exempt from the rule, as are differently abled people with their companions and children under 6. In business news, gold and silver prices dropped on Monday as increased CME margin requirements added to the selling pressure following last week's sell-off sparked by Kevin Warsh's nomination as incoming U.S. Federal Reserve Chair. Warsh, a former Fed governor with ties to Trump and Wall Street, favors a smaller Fed balance sheet and raises questions about the pace of future interest rate cuts and potential regime change at the central bank. A firmer dollar reduces gold's appeal for non-U.S. currency holders, and the dollar and silver both tanked to almost 5%, by almost 5% on Monday, after they had fallen also quite frighteningly on Friday. Now, World Wetlands Day 2026 was marked at Delhi's Prasar Bharati Wildlife Sanctuary, highlighting the deep connection between wetlands, culture and community knowledge. With this year's theme focusing on traditional practices, the event underscored India's expanding Ramsar network and renewed commitment to conserving these vital ecosystems. Take a look.
India's Environment, Forest and Climate Change Ministry marked the World Wetlands Day 2026 at the Prasar Bharati Wildlife Sanctuary in New Delhi, highlighting the vital link between wetlands, culture and community knowledge. The theme this year, Wetlands and Traditional Knowledge, Celebrating Cultural Heritage, underscored the role of indigenous practices in conserving these fragile ecosystems. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India's Ramsar network has grown significantly from 26 sites in 2014 to 98 today, reflecting the country's strong commitment to wetland conservation. Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirtivardhan Singh, emphasized the ecological and cultural importance of the Parvati Arga Bird Sanctuary in Uttar Pradesh, a globally recognized Ramsar site.
मुझे खुशी है कहते हुए कि आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जहां पहले केवल 26 हमारे यहाँ रामसर साइट्स थे, आज 98 रामसर साइट्स हो गए हैं। ये दिखाता है, दर्शाता है हम लोगों के सरकार की जो पर्यावरण को बचाने के लिए, पर्यावरण का संरक्षण करने के लिए, एनवायरनमेंट का संरक्षण करने के लिए, उसके लिए जो हम लोगों का कमिटमेंट है।
The minister noted that wetlands support rich biodiversity, sustain livelihoods and remain deeply rooted in local traditions, calling them the lifeline of nature and urging renewed conservation efforts.
एनवायरनमेंट, पर्यावरण हमारे समाज के लिए बहुत ही जो उसका उपयोगिता है और जो उसका महत्व है, इसको लेकर हर जगह हम लोग इसकी बात उठा रहे हैं। और आज ये जो यहाँ पे जो फंक्शन था, वर्ल्ड वेटलैंड डे हम लोग सेलिब्रेट कर रहे थे और आज यहाँ पे स्कूल के बच्चे भी थे, उनको भी प्रेरणा मिलती है कि किस तरह आगे अपने जीवन में इस देश के कंधार बनेंगे।
The event also featured an exhibition on wetlands and biodiversity, felicitation of states for new Ramsar sites, and the release of the document Cultural Wonders of Ramsar Sites.
आज की सरकार, देश के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की अगुवाई के अंदर जब से सरकार ये बनी है, तब से सबसे बड़ा पर्यावरण के अंदर बदलाव आना शुरू हुआ है। जो हमारी अटूट रिश्ता था, वो टूटता हुआ जा रहा था, उसको वापस स्थिर किया गया है और जहां पेड़ पंछियों को बचाया गया है, वहीं जल स्रोत को भी बचाया गया है।
The program concluded with community interactions and a plantation drive under Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam.
With renewed focus on conservation and community participation, World Wetlands Day 2026 reaffirmed India's commitment to protecting its wetlands and cultural heritage. With camera person Ajit, this is Taposh Bhattacharya from Prasar Bharati Wildlife Sanctuary, Delhi.
Let's get to sports now. And the International Cricket Council on Sunday has issued a statement strongly objecting to the announcement by the Pakistani government that it would forfeit its T20 World Cup match against India. The ICC noted that Pakistan's government had instructed its national team to selectively participate in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2026, which is just coming up this month. The World Cricket Body emphasized that such selective participation is difficult to reconcile with the fundamental premise of a global sporting event where all teams are expected to compete on equal terms according to the event schedule. The ICC further said that this decision is not in the interest of the global game. It cautioned that the Pakistani Cricket Board should consider the significant and long-term implications for cricket in its own country, as the move is likely to affect the wider cricket ecosystem. Pakistan is placed with India in Group A. On Sunday, the government announced that the national team would not take to the field against India. However, the PCB has not yet issued any official statement on the matter. And BCCI Vice President Rajiv Shukla has said that the Board of Control for Cricket in India agrees with the ICC's stance on sportsmanship regarding Pakistan's boycott of the T20 World Cup 2026 group stage match against India, but will comment only after speaking with the ICC.
स्टेटमेंट आया है जिसमें उन्होंने खेल भावना को लेकर कहा है, तो हम पूरी तरह आईसीसी से सहमत हैं और लेकिन हम बीसीसीआई इस पर भी कोई टिप्पणी नहीं करेगी जब तक आईसीसी से हमारी बातचीत ना हो जाए.
Expressing confidence ahead of the championship, the high-performance coach of the Indian Rifle shooting team has said Indian shooters are ready for the challenge at the Asian Rifle and Pistol Shooting Championships. The tournament brings together 311 shooters from 20 Asian nations, including hosts India, across junior and senior categories, with 30 medal events up for grabs.
The Kearney Singh shooting range is ready to host the Asian Pistol and Rifle Championship. Right now I'm joined by the shooting coach of the 50-meter rifle 3 position, who was the chief coach during the Paris Olympics, and right now the high-performance coach at the 50-meter shooting range. How the preparations are going on?
Very well prepared. Right now, Kearney Singh shooting range is like one of the best range in the world. System of the target is already upgraded, the best one what is available. So all the ranges 10 meter, 50 meter and 25 meter range are equipped with the latest electronic target system. So this is a big development, happened last year. So we are very happy, and overall preparation done by the Federation and the Sports Authority of India to host the Asian, it's really commendable.
Do you think that the key players will be watched out for in this tournament from India's perspective?
As I'm looking for the 50-meter events, so all the athletes at 50-meter, starting from Aishwarya Pratap, Neeraj Kumar, Akhil, and for the women it's Asi Choksi, Anjum, and the new athletes, Akriti Daya, all are prepared very well. And I hope from a good results from everyone.
So good result from everyone. But so talking about overall the Indian shooting, the way we have recently performed in the World Championship, World Cup, even in the Olympics, we are just commanding the sports. So what are the reasons you find behind this meteoric rise of the Indian shooting?
Yeah, it's not just the one region. A good sport from the government, central governments, Sports Authority of India and the Federation, like we have a Khelo India scheme, then particular center is also under National Center of Excellence. So good facility throughout the year, training, good guidance from the coaches, different events. So, and even it's integration of sports science team with the national shooting team. It's also helping athletes to come forward and give their best.
So India is ready to just participate in this Asian Rifle and a Pistol Championship. The way our athletes are practicing, definitely once again India will dominate the tournament. With camera person Ashish, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
Best of luck to our shooters, and that brings an end to this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Just scan the QR code on the screen, download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.